Background: my wife rarely goes out with friends, about 6 times a year, and has never been very social. She prefers spending time with me. I am more social, but that has declined as we have focused on our family. We have a 2-year-old daughter. I spend time with the same 3 friends once a week for game night, sometimes in person, sometimes online. I have another 3 friends that I see only once every 2 months, also for game night. If I go out, my wife will tend to our daughter. I often still help with dinner, bedtime, but sometimes leave earlier than this. Our daughter's bedtime is 7:30 p.m, and she often sleeps through the night without fuss. Wakes up fussing maybe 5% of the time. I always offer for my wife to sleep in the next day or something similar in exchange for me going out so that it's not one-sided. Scenario: my wife made plans to spend an evening this weekend out with friends. She would be out from 6 p.m. until late. After she made those plans, I was invited to my friend's birthday celebration with my second friend group. If I went, I would be gone from 5 p.m. until late. The last time I saw them was exactly 1 month ago. I brought this plan up with my wife as I wanted to make arrangements for a family member to take our daughter for the evening. She was irritated by this and argued that I should stay home. I have since spoken with a family member who is happy to take our daughter at 5 p.m. and have her stay the night, and I have communicated this to my wife. I made it clear that this will not affect her plans at all. I will be responsible for drop-off and pick-up of our daughter, and I will not ask anything of my wife because I understand that it is rare for her to have a night out like this, so I don't want her to change her plans at all. She still thinks that I should stay home. Her arguments: she says that since she always covers for me, I should also cover for her. She doesn't want to ask this family member to have our daughter for the night because she thinks we ask too much of them. My arguments: I am covering for her as she does not have to change her plans and doesn't have to do anything for our daughter. This family member loves watching our daughter, and my wife is often quick to agree to leave our daughter there for sleepovers, plenty of other evenings out of convenience. For example, we will be there for dinner and put our daughter to sleep there so we can visit longer. Then we will leave her there for the night, so I don't see why this time it's too much to ask. I feel like she wants me to stay home as a form of punishment for going out more frequently than she would prefer. Punishment feels too strong of a word. I don't think there is any major resentment behind this or anything. I just don't know how else to describe the feeling. So, am I the jerk here for making plans to go out the same night my wife also already had plans to go out, even though I am covering all arrangements for our daughter for the evening? Edits. Not sure why everyone thinks I'm planning to get drunk, but I would not be drinking if I went to the birthday. I would also be the on-call parent and would tend to our daughter in case of any emergency. I used the word cover to describe solo parenting, as that is the word my wife used when we spoke. Neither of us are the type of people to call parenting babysitting when it is solo. The punishment I am referring to is about missing out on celebrating with a friend. It is not referring to spending time with my daughter. Just because my wife only goes out 6 times a year does not mean that is her only free time. We have 5 evenings free every week where she can either do her own thing or we can spend it together. We share the evening on-duty time equally. The vast majority, like 90% or more of my time out, is spent after my daughter is asleep. The normal routine is for both of us to do dinner/bath/bed routine, and then for me to leave afterward. The family member I'm referring to is on my wife's side. However, we are very close with them, and it is normal for me to talk to them directly. They feel just as much my family at this point as they are hers. The family member is also very experienced putting our daughter to bed without us being there. My daughter has her room at this family member's house as well as another's. This is because they care for our daughter on the 3 days a week where both my wife and I work so that we don't have to pay for daycare. We are extremely lucky to have such helpful family. And the reason she has her own room bed at these places isn't because we pawn her off there frequently. It is because she naps at these places 3 days a week and on occasional evenings. Both family members are empty nesters who admittedly love caring for our daughter and other young family members. We try to compensate them, but they often refuse, and they even go so far as to ask us to have our daughter over. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I think you're getting a lot of unfair flack, OP, but my judgment is a very, very soft. You're the idiot. Like, here's the thing. Your description and explanation of everything is extremely logical. I read your post and spent so much time scrolling through all the comments, completely unable to understand why everyone was attacking you and making assumptions. I genuinely could not comprehend how you could be in the wrong, given that neither of you would have to give up your night out, and your daughter would be well taken care of. And if I were in your position, I'd absolutely want to go out and be completely stumped as to why so many thought I couldn't. But then I thought some more. And another commenter mentioned something about how this is about emotions, not logic, which was what helped me realize why you should stay home. Let me explain. Your wife doesn't just want to go out with her friends, she wants you to stay home with your daughter when she does. Not as punishment because you're always going out and she's always staying home with her. She wants you to stay home with her for 3 reasons as far as I can tell. First, the one she told you about how this family member already does so much for you guys. I know that you asked them, and they said they'd be happy to. I know you have a routine set up where you do this all the time, and I know that because of this, it seems ridiculous to assume that you'd be putting this family member out by asking for their help one more night. But here's the thing, she was probably already worried that you guys rely on this family member too much, and now here's a situation where you don't have to rely on them, so to her it probably feels that much more egregious and entitled to choose to take advantage of their kindness just so that you can have a night out. So to her, this is not an isolated event that can be looked at in a vacuum. It's the straw that breaks the camel's back, or rather, it's the iron pipe that you throw on top of all the straws. So regardless of whether or not your family member is happy to take care of your daughter that night, it will still stress your wife out that you're asking them to, and she won't be able to enjoy her night out. That alone is enough of a reason for me to think you should stay home, but there's two more. The second reason is that she wants you to stay home with your daughter. I know in other comments you said you spend a lot of time with her. I know you said you'd only have dinner and bedtime with her even if you did stay home, but I want you to look at it from your wife's perspective. She stays home alone with your daughter a lot more than you do. I'm sure that those nights alone with her entail the same dinner and bedtime, so not a whole lot of time on any given night. However, these nights add up. Your daughter is spending more time with your wife than you, and as a result they are building a deeper connection relationship. Does your wife perceive herself to be the primary caregiver? Emphasis on the perceive. It's not about whether she is based off a logical breakdown of time chores, it's about whether she thinks she is. And if she does, why further? Who does your daughter perceive to be her main parent? Who does she go to when she's hurt, or has a question, or has a nightmare, or needs something? Is it possible that the time/chores/stuff you do for your daughter household is more practical and less emotional, and therefore does not build as deep of a bond with your daughter as the work your wife does? Basically, I think your wife wants you to take this chance when you're alone with your daughter to build the same relationship with her that your wife has. She wants you and your daughter to have a closer relationship, for your daughter to know and rely on you as much as she does your wife. It's also possible she's tired of being the primary main and wants you to be equal parents. This night is just step one in that direction. Side note and observation. Your wife might be looking at things in the long-term trends, while you seem to be looking at things in an isolated, individual way. Keep that in mind for future disagreements. The last reason, and I know the most important one, is that she wants you to stay home. It honestly doesn't really matter if it's logical. It doesn't really matter if you don't need to. It doesn't really matter if someone else can watch her, and you can both have your night out. She's asking you to stay home. Staying home would make her happy. You should do it. It's a small ask and doesn't put you out too much. Yeah, it sucks you won't get to see your friends and celebrate their birthday, but if they mean that much to you, then you should organise another night out for you to spend with them to make up for it. I know that just on principle it seems unreasonable, and you still might not get it. And maybe you're even worried about slippery slopes and not wanting to entertain crazy demands just to make the wife happy. But ask yourself, does she always make unreasonable demands? Is this a running theme? Or is it that every so often she asks for something that you can't understand why, but it wouldn't be the hardest thing for you to do? Because there are times where we can't really understand the reason why someone does something, but we can accept that they do and respond accordingly. Your choice here is to use logic to deny your wife's feelings, or to accept that she feels the way she does and do what you can to make her happy. That's why my judgment is, you're the idiot and not no idiots here. It's because while logically you may be right, and that's only if the first two reasons I offered were wrong, your wife is having emotions and the kind thing to do would be to acknowledge that and do what you can to help, even if it involves a bit of sacrifice. This, TikTok. About logic, emotions and empathy is some good food for thought and informed a lot of my perspective. Hope it helps. Comment 2, you're the idiot. Not a big one, but this is more about the emotional load than logical reasoning. Your wife is likely not going to be enjoying herself the same way she would if you had stayed at home. She isn't necessarily going to worry all night, but she will be aware that your daughter is out of the house. She's going to mentally check in. Now they are driving over, now she's likely settling down, now you are picking her up, time for bed again. Every time she mentally check in, she exerts a little effort. Maybe she glances out the window to check the weather is good for driving. Maybe she checks her watch or phone to see if you called. However, even the energy of simply having a thought adds up. If your wife is like many parents I know, especially the main caregivers, she is always alert. She's always on. You being home with your daughter doesn't turn that off, but it does lessen the amount that it happens. The mental load of knowing your child is as safe as possible with their other parent is different from knowing they are driving around and at another house. It doesn't matter how safe it is. Travel needs more attention than staying home. You get to go out. You get mental breaks from parenthood. She doesn't get the same breaks. She's asking for one now. You need to decide. Does it really matter who's right here? Your wife is unhappy. This is a rare occurrence for her that means a lot, and you see your friends all the time. Even if you think my reasoning is completely irrelevant, is this birthday party really worth it? ETA. When posts get this big, I like to channel that energy as much as possible towards doing some good in the real world, especially when at the moment, for me, being able to comment at all on something small and innocuous, like an internet stranger deciding whether to use a babysitter, currently feels like a luxury. I don't take it for granted. www.nami.org is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. They accept donations and have one hotline available for everyone and one specifically for teens and young adults. www 2020 Mum. Org is the Policy Centre for Maternal Mental Health, aka 2020 Mum. They advocate for policies in America that support the mental health of pregnant women and all parents. For those who are focused on wanting to help those affected by bigger issues like war, conflict and natural disasters due to recent and not so recent events, has articles and lists of reliable charities for helping those in specific war zones and other dire situations. Donations are obviously not the only way to do good. Things as small as being mindful to be patient and kind makes everything a little bit better. Wishing everyone both strong internet and real-world communities and support systems. Comment 3. You're the idiot. Really inconsiderate here. Parenting your daughter isn't a punishment. It's what happens when you decide to have a child with your wife. You go out much more often than she does. Your wife understandably wants you to take care of her for one night, and amp. I totally understand not trusting even family with her if that's the issue. Most CSA comes from family. Disregarding any of that, you're her father and she's your daughter. Why is it so hard for you to watch her? Shirking the responsibility onto someone else instead of watching her for one night is wrong. Your friend should understand you have a child and can't go out whenever. Grow up, she's your child too. Now for the update. After our last disagreement about both of us going out on the same evening, I thought we'd reached some form of understanding. My wife seemed to soften slightly, although she was still a touch annoyed with me, but I had no idea of the storm that was brewing. 2 weeks after our argument, a dear friend of mine got diagnosed with a terminal illness. It was a swift and devastating blow to everyone in our friend circle. In the midst of this upheaval, my wife received a promotion at work. It was something she'd been working hard for, and she was ecstatic. Yet with my friend's diagnosis, the nature of my outings changed. Game nights turned into hospital visits, and the frequency of my outings increased. I was spending more time at the hospital than at home, and I could see it was beginning to strain our relationship. Nevertheless, my wife was supportive and understanding as she'd ever been. Then came the day of her company's grand celebratory dinner for all the newly promoted employees. It was a big day for her, something she'd been looking forward to for weeks. That same evening, my friend was on his deathbed. He'd asked to see all of us one last time. I was torn. I knew how important my wife's event was to her, how much she deserved to be celebrated. But also, I couldn't ignore my dying friend's last wish. I suggested hiring a babysitter or asking our family member to watch over our daughter again, but my wife was against it. She argued we couldn't keep burdening others with our responsibilities. In the end, I chose to be by my friend's side. I figured my wife had her co-workers to celebrate with, while my friend had no one but us, his friends. When I came back that night, the look on my wife's face said it all. Her eyes were filled with a profound silent disappointment. I'd let her down on her special day. It's been a week since then. The awkward silences and cold interactions have become a norm. I know I hurt her. I just didn't know what else to do. I've tried apologizing, explaining my perspective, but it feels like we're at a stalemate. I can't help but worry if this will be the wedge that drives us apart. Now for the comments. Comment 1. Not the idiot. You were put in a difficult situation and had to make a choice between two important events. Your friend, faced with a terminal illness and asking to see everyone for the last time, obviously needed emotional support and comfort. It's a hard situation, but it's important to prioritize people's feelings and needs in their most trying times. Yes, your wife's company dinner was important, but it's also important to remember that there will be other dinners and other opportunities for celebrating. It's essential that you communicate this with your wife and explain your reasoning. It's possible that she's also struggling with the situation and may need reassurance that she's still important to you. Comment 2. You're the idiot. While your friend's terminal diagnosis is a tragic circumstance, it's crucial to maintain balance in your relationships. Your wife had an important event on the same day, and your absence likely made her feel unimportant and neglected. This could have been a pivotal moment in her career, and she may have needed your support there. It's essential to remember that in a marriage, both parties need to feel supported and valued. Perhaps a better course of action would have been to discuss the situation with your wife and find a compromise that would have satisfied both parties. Comment 3. No idiots here. It sounds like a truly unfortunate situation where there was no right or wrong choice. You were between a rock and a hard place, needing to choose between supporting a dying friend and being there for your wife's important event. It's understandable why you chose to be with your friend. Those moments are irreplaceable. On the other hand, your wife's disappointment is also valid. With a lack of communication, she may have felt like she wasn't a priority. Going forward, it's important to have an open and honest conversation about how both of you felt and how you can support each other in the future. Now for the next story. So I have a daughter who's 14, my husband is 41, and I'm 38. My daughter Courtney is really into Y2K style right now. It's more Bratz dolls, less real early 2000s fashion. She receives a monthly allowance from us to have a little autonomy. Last week she went to a thrift store with her older sister and bought the ugliest tie-dye mini-skirt imaginable. It is brownish and honestly looks like she had a poop accident, as one of the stains is around her bum area. Yesterday she came down wearing that skirt. Her grandma said, "Absolutely not, that is too short, go change." My daughter started protesting and asked me about it. I said that the length was fine, but I did not want her to go out in something that makes her look like she had an accident. My mother-in-law started shooting daggers at me after I said that. My daughter went upstairs and changed into a pair of shorts. While she was up, she told me that it was inappropriate what I let my daughter do, and that I was mocking her by what I said. Also, that I was showing her it is okay to be shallow and buy into trends. Honestly, I was not concerned until my husband came home saying he agreed with his mother, and he was not a fan of how I handled this. I'm very confused. She is wearing normal girl stuff, not scandalous, it is normal. But my husband said it is stupid that I draw the line at ugly. Am I the idiot? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. Are people not understanding what poop and accident mean? I highly doubt the daughter wants to look like she shoot her pants. I do not think the shit your pants is a look trend going on right now that OP is stifling her creativity on. This would not be a look she's getting her bearings on and learning to grow her style and sense of self. This is her looking like she pooped herself. And yeah, sure, pooping yourself and wearing the clothes is unlikely, but bloodstains turns brown. So honestly, I bet it could also look like an old period stain, and someone would tell her, "Did you get your period and not realise?" It's a kindness. Sorry I did not judge on what you actually asked on. Yeah, no, you're good. I would tell her, maybe buy her some tiny booty shorts to go up her skirt though, in case her choice to wear them. I learned my lesson after way too much of me was touching gross public seats. Also a tragic windy day. Plus, gosh, the trends I wore as a kid and teen, the 2000s look, are regrettable to me, but like it's a rite of passage at that age to figure out what trends are for you. I now look at me wearing a choker and puka shell necklace at the same time fondly. Comment 2. Not the idiot. I say this as a former emo from 2010. Let her experiment in her early teenage years and cringe in her 20s. I get Facebook notifications of my 12, 16-year-old self, and I cringe so hard I laugh, cry a little. My parents also let me wear basically what I wanted and just explained why they didn't like it and let me be. About the mother-in-law, you are the authority figure for your daughter, not mother-in-law. She needs to keep her comments to herself. About husband, as long as she's not out in cellophane wrap and 2 crackers, I don't see why he's so mad. Why is he mad at the objectively ugly skirt? Comment 3. Not the idiot. Apparently you people forgot what it was like to be 14. Say this girl wore the skirt to school. Can you imagine the damage it would cause to her self-esteem if one of her classmates decided to say it looks like she shoot herself? Or in this day of social media, if one of them took a picture and plastered it all of Snapchat? You're all bashing mum here all about the head, but seemingly have zero problem with granny intimacy lover shaming and telling her it was too short. There be some special folks on these threads sometimes. Now for the update. So here's what happened next. My daughter, let's call her Ellie, didn't take the skirt incident lightly. She started wearing the tie-dye miniskirt religiously, every single day. To school, to the park, to the grocery store. You get the idea. And it wasn't just the skirt. She doubled down on her Y2K aesthetic, accessorizing and mixing with other questionable thrift store finds. This culminated in her setting up a TikTok account, showcasing her unique fashion choices. She branded her style as Rebel Y2K and started gaining followers. Fast, I'm talking thousands of followers in just a few days. She was getting comments like iconic and slay queen from complete strangers. It was a bizarre turn of events. Then the mother-in-law got involved. She saw the TikTok account, and to everyone's surprise, she started defending Ellie. She even went as far as to post a picture of herself from the 70s in an equally questionable outfit and captioned it #Rebel before it was cool. It was baffling, but here's where things take an unexpected turn. One day, Ellie comes home from school and announces that she's been selected to represent the school in a citywide style competition for teenagers. Apparently, the judges were impressed by her courage to be different and her retro-modern style. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Needless to say, my husband was over the moon. He's always been supportive of Ellie's unique choices. He even suggested that I should go shopping with Ellie so I can understand her style better. I grumbled, but I agreed. As we were shopping for her competition outfit, Ellie broke down. She told me that she wasn't trying to be inappropriate or rebellious. She just wanted to express herself. She was hurt by my initial reaction to her skirt, but she also admitted that it gave her the push to embrace her style fully. I apologized and we had a long, heartfelt talk. I even helped her pick out an outfit for the competition. It was a tie-dye jumpsuit. Yes, you read that right, a full-on tie-dye jumpsuit. But incredibly, it looked good on her. Unique but good. So that's where we are. Ellie's competition is next week and she's all pumped up. I'm still baffled by how everything happened, but if there's one thing I learned, it's that I should never underestimate my daughter's passion and resilience, and yes, maybe even her fashion sense. Now for the comments. Comment 1. Not the idiot. It's completely normal for a teenager to want to express themselves through fashion, and it's great that Ellie has found a style that she's comfortable with and is gaining recognition for. The initial reaction was misguided, but understandable given that this is a new territory for you as a parent. However, what's important is you realized your mistake and made amends. Encouraging Ellie to pursue her passion and supporting her in the style competition is a great step forward. Comment 2. Not the idiot. It's important to remember that fashion and style are subjective and can be a powerful form of self-expression. Ellie is finding her identity, and it's wonderful that she has such a supportive family who are willing to put aside their own preconceptions to support her. Your mother-in-law's photo from the 70s shows that trends come and go, and it's not about the clothes themselves, but how Ellie feels in them that matters most. Comment 3. Not the idiot. It's exciting to see Ellie's passion for fashion and personal style being acknowledged not just on social media, but also in her school and wider community. Your initial reaction doesn't make you TA, as it's often challenging for parents to adjust to their children's changing interests and identities. The key is that you were able to reflect and change your perspective. Your support will mean the world to Ellie and only strengthen the bond between you two. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.